Okay, so here's my home small aquaponics system. It looks kind of pink in here because of these indoor grow lights. And I'm just gonna come up here and turn that off and then turn this off. It's not very bright in here in the afternoon. This is a northern side of the house, so it's a little bit shadier. And okay, so there's like a big storage bin. I believe it's 20 gallons is what it would hold. About 22, I think, is the capacity on that. And then it's what you can see on top is the mint plant. So let's go back up a little bit here. And then, so climbing up here, there's a whole bunch of mint that I'm supposed to be pruning that now that I've learned more about mint. Underneath it is a reedy plant. It's actually a pond plant. Boy, this mint smells so good. I just love the mint. If nothing else, for the smell, if not to put in salads and drinks. So there's our ceramic, the German ceramic media balls. And then you're looking, what is that? Is that a soda pop? Yes, it is. This is the siphon. So it's supposed to be an auto siphon system, but I will reach up here and pull this, and then when you hear it, you might hear it burp. Oh, well, right now it's actually draining. So by pulling up on there, I created the siphon, and it's draining out, because clearly the auto siphon function, oh, burping. Okay, so then basically that breaks the siphon, which then allows the water to fill. So you're like, where's the water coming from? The water's coming from here in the tank. And oh, okay, so here's my little pond pump, and it came off. So I just push it back on there. Now, where do you want your pump in your tank? Not too low. Why? Because theoretically, it would pump up all the water out, and then your poor little fishies would run out of water. We don't want that. So, you really should be keeping that up at a higher level. Fortunately, the siphon does start to work a little bit at a certain point, and so I actually wouldn't have all the water up into the top container. So in any case, going back, here's a small garden fountain. So when you go to the hardware store, they have pond pumps, and then the strength of the pump, really you need to know details on that, because a lot of it has to do with how high you're pumping the water. It's all, obviously volume of water, but also how high, because the higher you pump up, then the more power you need to pump that water up there. So you're like, what is that grading thing? That has nothing to do with aquaponics. That grading is to keep cats from going up and laying in your plants. Because cats, as you know, like to climb up and lay on things. And that does look like a box, doesn't it? So yes, the cat used to try to get up in there and lay and crush the plants. So that is the cat barrier right there. So going back to this hose, one thing that you can see about this system, here's an error. So when you do these things, you figure this stuff out the hard way. So one thing, and of course I could fix it at any time if I weren't lazy, is this hose is too long. You really only want the minimum amount of length to get from the tank up to the growing bed, because otherwise that extra length of hosing is just creating extra work on your pump, and it kind of is unsightly. So I probably should do something about that. So anyway, what do we have down here in the tank? We have two goldfish, and a butterfly koi. So my long story, but started out with goldfish because I was collecting rainwater in barrels outside, because this is California and we're trying to be water conscious. And so then the thing about mosquitoes and blah blah. So you put some little cheap, they call them cheap feeder fish, little comet goldfish in your water barrels to eat the mosquitoes. Long story short, they don't really eat that many mosquitoes. You still need to worry about mosquitoes. So a better thing to do is to get these little wafer things that are non-toxic to pets and wildlife. And they're little wafer like crumble things that you put into standing water barrels, etc., so that it'll keep the mosquitoes from breeding in your standing water. But I ended up enjoying looking at the goldfish more. I was more interested in the goldfish than the rainwater. I still capture rainwater, but in any case, brought the goldfish in to give them a better habitat. And I had seen aquaponics at a place called Ouroboros Farm, Aquaponics Farm in Half Moon Bay, California. Ouroboros. Ouroboros. It's a Greek word. Anyway, so I had seen their aquaponics setup and I thought, that makes a lot of sense. And the whole issue about, water sustainability, gardening, and science and ecosystems, it's all a lot of fun and interesting. And of course, for me, I'm not planning to eat any of the fish. The idea behind the aquaponics is you could be having tilapia fish in here that you would eat. You could be raising shrimp, again, that you would eat. I actually just enjoy looking at my fish, and their poop creates the fertilizer water, which gets pumped up into the grow bread. I don't even eat my mint that much, but I sure enjoy smelling it. So in any case, so that's the whole cycling process. I also have a hanging on a back filter because my priority here is enjoyment of the fish and the whole ecosystem overall. So to be sure, because I do have, I was sort of thinking I was going to get a pond, and so then I got this butterfly koi. I mean, these are fairly big fish for this system. Total water, this is a 40-gallon tank on the bottom, and then with the 20 gallons, which it's not really filled, so figure 50 to 60 gallons worth of water. I mean, I do have a really strong filtration. When you think about, look at the size of that. That's a filter right there. So it is huge, and I'm probably being paranoid, but I am being a little bit paranoid about the goldfish because if the ammonia cycle is off, then it becomes very toxic and the fish die. So for the benefit of the fish, I have the extra filter on the back, and I feel like the water is plenty fertilized enough, going up into the growing bed, and having the hanging on the back. This is just a regular hanging on the back aquarium filter that gives me extra peace of mind, and it does clean out a lot of the big sludge. And hey, it creates, when I vacuum the fish tank or when I clean out the filter stuff. So basically what I do to clean that filter is I'm taking a 5-gallon bucket, pulling out some water from the goldfish aquarium, and then cleaning my filters. And that's a lot of fertilizer water that's going to my other plants in the front yard. I have raspberry bushes and just different plants, mostly ornamental. Tomatoes, I have tomatoes. So mostly ornamental, some food, and so that water is not going to waste. It is going to growing other plants. Let's see. So backing up. So the whole idea of the auto siphon is it's supposed to be pumping the water here. When it fills up, it's supposed to gets up to here, and then it's supposed to automatically trigger the siphon to go off. Now I have somewhere, and I should have brought that out there. I'll show you a picture later, because I had bought basically it's like a PVC type plastic cylinder with a clear plastic viewing thing, and then you could then basically the other key component of this is like a large PVC with the slits cut in it, so that way the grow media doesn't get into the siphon area. The water is able to go in here and raises up. But I was having so much trouble trying to get the correct amount of flow. So theoretically, you can put, like right over here, you'll see, what do I have over here? Just a cut tube. Because, and I used to have, like, you can get these little attachments. They're plastic attachments where it's adjustable, and you just turn and you control the amount of flow. And I played around and adjusted it, making it go stronger, making it go blah blah blah, and I could never get the amount of flow coming in to trigger the auto siphon, because what it's supposed to happen is it's supposed to, the water level is supposed to raise inside here, inside this inner thing here, which is basically a soda pop thing. I can pull it all the way out. You can see this is pretty gross. Look, I cut the bottom off. I played around with the holes, with the edges on the bottom, trying to come up with what would be the correct amount of balance of flow. You can see inside. Look, you can see in there is what I bought from Ouroboros is that inner pipe with the opening there, and then what I did with this container is, like, you're getting like a plumbing ballast thing, which is like special. You probably know these mechanical terms better, but they're basically gaskets that you use to create a seal, because if you cut a hole in the bottom of this tub, then you need to have the seal so that it doesn't leak. And then so the idea is that the water is supposed to raise up into this inner thing, and then creates a siphon with this thing. And oops, the water just popped out the tank down there. Okay, so right now, if I play with it manually, well, it's not high enough, because right now what I need to do now, you can see the water's starting to rise. So this whole thing is supposed to be auto, and I never got the right balance. So what'll happen, and you'll see it here in a few minutes, is the water level will raise enough, and then it starts to kind of drip. It doesn't really do like a whole, like, complete filling and then draining. So that whole draining action is supposed to be like an extra benefit to, like, really emptying out the water from the growing bed to really cycle it better. But obviously the plants are growing, and I've seen others where it doesn't really do the whole filling and then draining and then filling and then draining. So mine is like, I'll manually, a few times a day when I come by, I'll just come over here, and then if, kind of get the cycle to kind of do the drain and then let it fill again. And then if I leave it alone, which in a few minutes you might see that, it'll just start to drip. Now, looking down at the bottom, this is another part of it. So the whole reason why my auto siphon probably doesn't work probably has a lot to do with the bottom of this container. So you can see there's this plumbing ballast thingy. It's got the gasket there, and then there's screws here, and then you can connect your PVC to drain into the tank. So a couple of things about this. Why is this so weird shaped? Because originally when I bought this fish tank, let me back up. When you see the fish tank, you can see it comes on this little stand, and then it has this matching wooden cover, and I got this for like $100 on Craigslist, including a bunch of fish supplies and fish decor that I don't, tank decor that I don't even need, but whatever. I got rid of that stuff. Rehomed it. So in any case, I was planning to keep the whole attractive tank cover, and so that's why I did this discombobulated situation where I didn't put a direct route, and this is probably the number one reason why my auto siphon doesn't work, is because it's so long that the whole breaking of the siphon doesn't happen properly. So if I had it to do over again, I would figure out how to securely prop move the whole container over the edge of the shelving so that it drains. Like if this was a straight shot straight into the tank, that auto siphon would probably work. And certainly if it wasn't this long, then it would have a better chance of the siphon breaking. But in any case, it works okay. The fish are alive, fish are happy, and I have an ecosystem inside the tank as well. The plants actually are part of that. And yeah, so it was my first project. And let's see, so here because I had pulled the bottle out, that broke the siphon, and the water is still filling up here, so we can check on it now. Let's see, how's it doing? So I put my hand in here and I kind of feel it, and I kind of raise it a little bit. I don't think there's enough water, so there's not a high enough amount of water yet to get it to do anything. Actually, I was going to wait and show you that it actually fills on its own. Maybe it might not because I broke it so completely, but so in any case, would be better if the design had the drain right over the tank. Would be better if the pump had a shorter tubing, more efficient that way. And then maybe the auto siphon would work. Oh, another way around the siphoning to get the fillings and then the drainage to go in cycles is to actually put the pump on a timer. And that would be another thing that I have seen other people do, is the timer turns the pump on and off. So then it will fill, and then the pump turns off, and then hopefully it'll drain. But in any case, I just didn't really want to deal with more electrical stuff. And as it turns out, with it kind of eventually going to be doing a little drip here soon. I know the video is getting long. Let me see, how's our fill? And I might help it out. Like, yeah, see, if I pulled it up just a little, it creates that. And it wasn't enough to like really totally drain it, but this is how it often looks if I don't do anything. And yeah, I think there's pretty good flow, probably not as efficient or as strong at pulling, cycling the water in there out of the grow media. So I think the number one things to keep in mind besides the design is to be super patient in the beginning and not, you kind of want to watch it, but more for education, but try not to be overly reactive about it. So for instance, when you set it up, no fishies, absolutely not. You probably already know that. You're going to be just putting the water, some bacteria. Oh yeah, this whole thing, you forgot. I didn't introduce you to the bacteria. Hello, grow media has all our bacteria, and every surface in the tank and every surface in that back filter all house our bacteria, because actually the bacteria are the stars of this operation. So in the beginning, when they say cycling, what you really mean is establishing your bacteria colonies, your hidden friends. So you can put plants in fairly soon. And when you do, and you check your water pH and all that, another thing is don't get overly reactive about the pH system. First of all, the goldfish are fairly hardy in terms of pH. And what I found or learned the hard way is that doing the liquid pH up and pH down, that stuff is not very efficient, and it ends up leaving like a ton of icky residue. You can almost see on the bio balls, there's like a whitish, and that goes back to like when I started and I was panicking over the pH being too low, you know, because the plants are supposed to have a lower pH than what the fish need, and my priority was the fish. So in any case, if you do need to adjust pH, I would use I would definitely play around with raising the pH with the calcium carbonate shell and crushed coral stuff in the tank, and removing or adding wooden pieces of wood. Wood will lower the pH, and certain rocks will raise the pH. So I think that's a much, much better way of playing around with your pH. Plus you have to like be really patient. Instead of waiting hours, you really kind of need to go days. So that's why it's good to be incredibly patient and don't try to rush getting the fish. You want to really make sure that you have your balance. And even then, I would still go like subtle with the plants, like maybe add a couple plants at first, and then when you do go to get a fish, get like a couple, like 2 fish. Don't get one single fish, because goldfish are actually quite social, and it would be kind of rude. I think it's cruel to have a goldfish alone. Now that I've seen their behavior, you can see how these two are kind of chilling together, but they're very social animals, so at least get 2. All right, I have one other thing. There is a complete aquaponics backyard guide. This is from Gina, nice name, Cavaliero, and Tanya Cavaliero, and I got this book at the Ouroporos place. And in any case, if you want me to mail that to you, I would say it has some good ideas in there for how to build your own large backyard pond. And you know, it has like actual building guide with dimensions, like how to do the wood frame, and then the pond liner, and then of course the pump and the drainage. It would all be way more efficient because it would all kind of be built together, because basically what they'd be doing is kind of having a wooden structure with your tank, and then your grow bed would be like hanging over the back. The whole back half or back third would be your growing area. So anyway, that's what's going on here at our little home aquaponics. Say hi, guys. Yeah, isn't that butterfly quite pretty? Okay, all right, talk to you later. Bye.